Call the meeting to order, please. Say the pledge, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice requires the New Jersey Club meetings will have been satisfied by forwarding news release to Asbury Park President, September 28, 2014. Stating that a regular meeting of the ToCN Township Committee would be held April 29, 2015, 7:30 p.m. at Town Hall. Notice of occurrence is posted on the township website. Copies on file in the office of the township clerk.
Thank you for reading that 600 and some times over the years. So I appreciate that. I was going to try to, we're going to try to change that tonight, but we decided not to. Roll call, sir.
Deputy Mayor Wargo.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Engel.
Here.
And Fitzgerald.
Here.
And McNally. Here. Mayor Schatz.
Here. Item number 1, approval of minutes, meeting of April 8, 2015. Any corrections or additions?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Engel.
Seeing as I was not here.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor McNally. Yes. Mayor Schatz.
Yes, we have a number of proclamations to hand out this evening. I'm going to start off with the first one, which is Mental Health Month, May 2015, within the Township of Colts Neck. Whereas mental health is defined as emotional and psychological well-being, which allows individuals to work, enjoy satisfying relationships, and participate fully in their communities. And whereas approximately 25% of people experience a diagnosable mental health condition in their lifetime, and mental illness accounts for 4 of the top 10 leading causes of disability. And whereas studies show that mental health is a significant component of physical health, whereas when offered adequate services, wellness, and recovery are possible for those who live with mental illness, and mental health awareness, prevention, and education encourage individuals to seek professional and/or social support. And whereas the New Jersey State Federation of Women's Clubs and the National Alliance of Mental Health in New Jersey are working together to raise awareness about the importance of mental health and to advance treatment opportunities for individuals with mental health. Now therefore, I, James C. Schatzel, Mayor of the Township of Colts Neck, together with the entire Colts Neck Township Committee, do hereby recognize and proclaim the month of May 2015 as Mental Health Month within the Township of Colts Neck. We have representatives from the Federation of Women's Club, our Colts Neck Women's Club. I would love you to accept this on our behalf. And of course, the Alliance. Thank you very much for making sure that you brought this to our attention. Very important. Go ahead and hold that from you. Get a nice picture. Go ahead and we'll shoot a look at Emery first.
One more.
Okay. And of course, excellent. Next one is always a pleasure to do as well. Municipal Clerks Week, May 3rd through May 9th, 2015, whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and municipal clerks continuously strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of the Municipal Clerk through participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meeting of the state, Providence, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Municipal Clerk. Now therefore, I, James C. Schatzel, Mayor of the Township of Colts Neck, do recognize the week of May 3rd through May 9th, 2015, as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our retiring municipal clerk, Robert Bowden, for his many years of service to the township as clerk, and to Deputy Clerk Beth Cara, and to all clerks and deputy clerks for the vital services they perform for their dedication to the communities they represent. So if I can have a picture of both of you, that would be wonderful. Bob, I think you've had your picture taken more than the past week than probably the last 25 years, right? And you know what? Let's go. Every time I take a picture, I go, poor. We have this beautiful fireplace and flag and General Washington there.
Come on, Beth. You're in.
Just to make sure. We've got this for posterity.
Oh, yeah. Going far.
Excellent. Okay. Another also wonderful proclamation for Police Week, which is May 10th through May 16th, 2015. And whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have designated the week of Sunday, May 10, 2015 through Saturday, May 16, 2015 as National Police Week. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Therefore, I, Mayor James C. Schatzel, and the Township Committee proclaim that the week of May 10th to May 16th is designated as Police Week in the Township of Colts Neck, and we thank all of our officers and appreciate what they do for us each and every day. Make sure that that gets remembered. Thank you. You can pass that down, that would be wonderful. Our police chief wanted me to, sorry, I just need to get to a note here. There's a Unity tour that's coming up. That is a bicycle tour for police, that police officers participate. And we have 3 officers, Patrolman Capiati, Sergeant DeVito, and Chief Sauter are doing that ride that goes from Red Bank, I believe, to Washington, D.C. So that's a wonderful Unity tour that I know our chief has participated in a number of years, and now we have some other department police officers attending as well.
There's an aside that they had a 50-50 about a month and a half or 2 months ago raising money for the costs associated with it. And the gentleman that won the 50-50 donated the money back to these guys, so it made it affordable for the trip.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Thank you. This proclamation is wonderful for me to have the opportunity to read it. Honoring Robert Bowden. Whereas Robert Bowden, a lifelong resident and graduate of institutes of higher learning of the great state of New Jersey, began his career in municipal government in 1978. And whereas Robert Bowden served as township administrator in Byram Township from 1978 to 1980, Jefferson Township from 1980 to 85, and Howe Township from 85 to 90. Whereas Colts Neck was lucky then to have Robert Bowden continue his career as township administrator and clerk in the township of Colts Neck in May of 1990 to the present, serving 17 mayors, presiding over 55 elections, and attending 660 township committee meetings, never missing a single election or meeting. And whereas Robert Bowden is a member of the New Jersey Managers Association, New Jersey Municipal Clerks Association, International City Managers Association, International Institute of Municipal Clerks, Monmouth County Clerks Association, and serves on the executive board of the Mid-Jersey Joint Insurance Fund. Very proudly, that now, therefore, I, James C. Schatzel, Mayor of the Township of Cold Snack, New Jersey, along with all members of the Township Committee, do hereby proclaim that April 30th, 2015, be known as Robert Bowden Day within the Township of Cold Snack, and share the pride of our Cold Snack residents in honoring Mr. Bowden on his retirement, bringing to a close a 37-year career, and thank him for his steadfast service and many, many contributions to our community these past 25 years.
Very overwhelming last 48 hours. Had a little breakfast this morning. It's very nice, heartfelt from these people I treasure the most. I want to thank the taxpayers who do work for you, appreciate, respect you. You did let it be known that you pay my salary from time to time. Good fun. So it's been a whirlwind 48 hours for me, including tomorrow actually. And I just want to thank this particular governing body who made the last few months in transition as I move on to a new phase in life so overwhelming. And I can't thank them enough. I can't thank the residents enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where are we going this time?
So I think
Middle?
we're sure that's a great idea. So we have this.
Actually, in front of the clock, zoning's been here more than him.
We have a proclamation. We also, of course, have the certificate of recognition for those 660 meetings without a miss. And one of my favorite things that I may have given you 4 years ago, but you probably been waiting for another one, which is the Cold Snack Mayor Appreciation Pin. These are going to be collector's big deal. So there you go, sir.
Enjoy New Jersey.
There you go. Absolutely.
Thank you.
There you go. It is budget time. Item number 6, municipal budget. I have a few comments that I read last time, and I'll make sure that we hit the high points again in for the public hearing for our 2015 budget. The 2015 municipal budget is $12,173,643. That is the amount is inclusive of the 1.2 cents for dedicated open space that we do every year. The budget is slightly higher than 2014. It's actually $459,638 higher. That means for a home that's assessed at about at $800,000, this represents an increase of $112 in property taxes for this year. We are well under the cap, both the 2% tax levy cap and the appropriation cap. We use a little more than $1 million of surplus funds to offset this budget, and that leaves us $565,000 for next year or the future in surplus. There was one year in the very, very tough year of 2011 that we needed to use to do some school tax deferral. We have not, including this year, have done that since that one-time situation. State aid remains the same as last year and totals just under $2 million. The operating budgets for the departments remain roughly the same as last year and the year before and the year before and the year before. So the department heads and employees have done a great job in keeping to our financial times here. There are some major expenses that really make up the increase of that 1.2 cents or that $112, if you will. Our winter was another tough winter with operational cost of $430,000 and additional $60,000 in overtime for snow removal. And as we all know very well, is that we borrowed $2.2 million for cleanup costs associated with Superstorm Sandy. We received from FEMA just under $1.8 million of that, and we need to start making up that shortfall over the next 3 years. And this particular budget includes the first of those 3 payments of $139,000. Our pension costs for our little township in Colts Neck, which is a significant part of our budget, also was increased by some $81,000. We've always, since I've been involved on the Township Committee, have done a pay-as-you-go capital program. We did once again this year $304,000, including a number of things like improving our recreation fields, replacing or eventually this year we'll be replacing the First Aid Squad's heating system. We own that building, the township. Fire department turnout gear and other equipment. Four-wheel drive vehicle for the police department. Also for the police department, vehicle computers, radar units, and in-car cameras, which are now required by law moving forward with any new purchase of a police vehicle. The Public Works received a new F-350 truck with plow. We've done a number of improvements, including the steps that most of you used this evening. We're continuously improving, and we're going to use an additional $57,000 to repair the building that we're in right now. We needed a new well at Bucks Mill Community Center. Computer upgrades and IT infrastructure continues to be a priority in our township. There was a court needed a new recording system, and underground storage tank removal and monitoring, which many of us have needed to do that in our homes, and the township continues that program as the years go on. This budget includes no new or additional employees, so once again, very thin crew that we work with in town here. And we also have our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. John Antoni's here to answer any questions from the committee or the residents. So with that, anything from the committee before I open the public hearing?
Just one thing, everybody gets this in the mail. It's really good. If you want some general knowledge about the budget, take a look at it. It's well prepared, very explanatory, has a lot of useful information in it. And one of the things that I think is really important that everybody appreciates, and I think we remind everybody every budget year, is your municipal purposes only represent a very small portion of your tax bill. We're about 12.6% of the total number. So we're a very tiny percentage of what you're actually paying in your property taxes. So for every $10,000 that you pay, $1,200, $500, $1,200, $600 is coming in here.
Mayor, just one comment, not directly on budget, but so it's not lost and the public knows, but we certainly know it, but part of the reason that Mr. Bowden chose this week to retire is because he stuck around for us for the budget. So the reality is the date is chosen, again, showing his selflessness for the township. He stuck around for a budget for us and made sure that the budget was done before he left it to the able hands of our upcoming acting administrator. But I know tomorrow's your day, and I don't want to pat you on the back, but the reality is we've got to do this again before that.
Absolutely. Public hearing on the budget.
I have a basic question.
Yes, sorry.
Stuart Lambert, COSA. I have a basic question about certain items in the budget that I don't fully understand, and maybe you can enlighten me. The roads in certain areas of Colts Neck. I read in one of the recent editorial comments that certain people have nightmares about the roads. The roads are, as I drive around, certainly on my street, leave a lot to be desired as far as the shape of the roads. There's a lot of holes, there's a lot of cracks, there's a lot of everything. One of the comments that I heard or read about was the fact that these garbage trucks are a big part of the destruction of the roads. And my question about that relates to primarily, has it ever been considered to charge the respective garbage companies a tax, a fee, for the damage that they allegedly are causing to the roads of Colts-Neck to finance or fund the repavement of many of those roads?
Sure. One of my favorite subjects to talk about. So, roads, infrastructure, the people who come to the meetings all the time get bored of me saying this. In my opinion, government has two main responsibilities: safety and infrastructure. So I have always, for 9 years now, talked about we need to make sure that we maintain our infrastructure. This current township committee has been on the same page with that, and we have bonded money and have put money towards those items there. One of the things that still amazes me as a resident of the town, of the state of New Jersey, is the immense expense that it takes to pave even 1 mile of road. And it's very different because if you look at other states, if you go down to the Carolinas or other states, the number's very different. So I haven't completely got I haven't figured that out, but we're in New Jersey, so we're paying New Jersey rates on that. So one of the discussions, actually, feel free to come to the next township committee meeting, is we're going to be talking about what to bond, how much to bond, and how many roads we're going to do this year. I can also go back and tell you that when I was a junior member of this committee, and the budget was extremely tight as it is now, but our decrease was really just coming down, this whole economy was just coming down, is there was a few years that Colts-Neck didn't pave any roads. So we're playing a little catch up on that. Also, our winters have done tremendous damage to the roads. So I think possibility, not being an engineer in that area at all, is I'm not sure how much the traffic and the trucks are causing that. It's probably part of it. I think Committeeman Orgo, Deputy Mayor Orgo, has been bringing that point up, and I need him to continue to bring that point up to look at some solutions. But I think the age and the winters have done probably the most damage there. So, not being a lawyer, we have representation on that end. I'm not sure about the taxing of the garbage industry. Interesting concept, and we all heard that, so we appreciate it. But we're going to continue, and Deputy Mayor Orgo is definitely going to continue to look at those trucks and how we can decrease that amount best that we can on that. But my next meeting, I'll be encouraging my fellow committeemen to bond a significant amount of money in the millions of dollars, and I personally would like to see most of that go to paving the roads. And it's still going to almost look like it didn't get touched.
Right.
There's 100 miles of road that we're responsible for, and if we're lucky to go ahead to pave 4 or 5 miles with several millions of dollars, that's what we can do.
When you say we're in New Jersey and it kind of is what it is because of the costs of paving, and you also indicated that it appears that our costs in New Jersey appear to be greater than other states or other locations. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes,
Southern states.
southern states.
I'm sorry?
Other southern states.
Oh, other southern
And
states.
there's a reason for that, which you can obviously figure out if you're not plowing them, and they're not heaving and freezing.
Right,
And the sub-base, instead of being 8 or 10 inches, only needs to be 4 inches.
right,
And they'll need to be paved every 12 years instead of every 4 or 5.
right. But does the paving process go out to competitive bidding?
Sure, of course.
Can I address this?
Yeah, anything that goes over 17,500, something like that, goes out to competitive bid.
Sure goes out, okay. And will somebody look into, I know you're going to have the next meeting focusing on that particular issue of paving, or the streets and binding. I'd like somebody to look into the legality of putting a service fee, a tax, or whatever term you want to use, that is legal. I'm an attorney, I'm also a CPA, and I'll be happy to work with anybody within this committee to discuss and to understand exactly what the rules are, what we can do, and what we can't do as a township. And I totally, to these garbage companies, and I totally agree that a lot of the infrastructure is weakened and will get worse every year. And so we're going to, at some point, have to come to a point where we say we have to repair some of the worst roads in Colesville and focus some energies on those worst roads and have some type of a program whereby these roads are repaired on an ongoing basis. Somehow we have to think about doing that. Not, it's just going to get worse. We're going to continue, with climate change and everything else. We're going to continue to have hurricanes. We're going to continue to have bad winters. There's going to be all sorts of things that erupt in the paving process. But I think it's an important thing to be addressed, and obviously it's been addressed before my question failed. So thank you.
Thank you. Link?
Elaine Ann, Route 34, Colesville. In reference to paving, I would like to understand how come we pave roads and we have engineers, Weinberg can go out and look at the road. He's looked at the road several times, we paved it in the past, and if there hasn't been any new configuration or anything, why do we continually have engineering reports on certain roads? If there's no egress or what have you onto the road, and the road configuration hasn't changed at all, why do we need that?
Senator, did you catch some of that?
No, sorry. I'm trying to get.
Again, I'm gonna play back there's a legal reason for it.
Right, okay.
So,
Question real quick.
if let's take this parking lot that's out here,
Yes.
and we haven't changed this parking lot since I've been a little kid, but it's the same parking lot. But if I want to repave it, I need, the township needs to pay an engineer to come in and do all of that work and pay him. So this man's question was, why do we have to pay an engineer to do that work when we just want to pave the road? And I would imagine there's some legalities behind that somewhere.
To resurface the parking lot?
Anyway,
No.
I'm just giving you an
I
example.
said if it was a road, a regular
A
road
road,
in town.
there's certain standards roads have to be constructed to in order to be maintained, in order for us to accept them to be roads. If they don't meet our standards under, then so much underneath, I'm not an
Right,
engineer,
yeah,
so
I
much
understand,
underneath, how much on top,
right.
and paving that, there are so many inches, that has to be done in order to comply with the standards for us to accept the roads. So the engineers are engaged in preparing the specifications, and then they are charged with being held accountable when we hire a vendor to come in to do the roads over, to meet the standards so that we can continue to have those roads meet the 20 years or whatever the time frame is in order to be upheld.
And I would imagine that if on the way home tonight, I have a horrible accident and that road wasn't done correctly, it all goes back to back. So just the steps that we need to go through to get something like that done.
Okay, thank you.
Some of it's got to do with a lot. Some of it's got to do with when we put out the bid for the state, when we try to get them to participate in some of it. Glenn's office has to go to its report. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. We didn't
Grant
get
money.
Stone Hill. We applied that, what, twice, and we didn't get it? We got Larry Road, so.
A lot of steps. Debbie?
I'm Debbie Powell. I'm representing Colesville First Aid. First, I just want to thank you for the $20,000 donation for 2015, but also our timing of our fund drive is from January to March, and the timing of this goes out in March as well. And when I'm a citizen of Colts Neck and I look at this, I live under public safety, and it includes first aid and fire. And I know space is limited on a piece of paper like this, but could you put the fire department and first aid separate so it doesn't look like we're in a $1 million budget?
Sure.
It just makes it easier, only because our donations are down this year, and compared to last year by about 10% already, and we're only in April, so I just thought that would be something that I would like to say.
Sure. Let me go back to, the 20,000 is to maintain the building that we own, and the squad does that. So it's not so much of a donation as an operating budget to maintain that building. And the first aid squad relies, Mr. Anderson, she'll get used to that clock. But we're proud of that clock, we're very happy with that clock. It means you have to stop talking.
Yeah, I thought they had.
Yeah, that was it, yeah. That's exactly what it was. It's usually more than us, then we have to stop talking.
It's not only older than me, it's older than you.
So the first aid squad, as most of us know, rely 100% to respond to emergency medical calls on the donations from the citizens and businesses of Colstown. So there are no tax dollars, if you will, that goes towards those ambulances, the equipment, the training, all that goes in. That's the generous support of our taxpayers and our donors, I should say, the donors in the township. So that's a good point, we can make that.
And almost all that $2 million in that line that you're referring to is just salaries and benefits.
Yeah, I realize that some people don't look at those.
It speaks to perception, these purposes.
Yeah.
It's a relatively easy fix, within the same format, and within the same sentence, just put in parentheses for each.
Sure.
I mean, that could be fixed.
Also, I just had a comment about his garbage trucks.
Not my vote.
I just think that, I think it's because there's like 5 garbage companies that go down a road.
More than that now.
Well, I'm just saying my street.
Wow.
So if you have if you have one garbage, maybe as, like you guys did with the electric company, how you, did a consortium. Well, if you did something that with maybe one garbage company and made a really attractive deal for all our residents, maybe we have one garbage truck coming down your street instead of 5.
Sure.
And then that, you wouldn't have to tax a garbage company, but make it more of a good incentive for them to come to Cold Snack and collect everybody's garbage.
And we don't even have to call it a tax.
It's-
I mean, we can call it a levy, we can call it anything, just like they do in Washington.
And we'll continue to look at it. That's something that's continuously looked at, and you'll be amazed when you crunch down the numbers that the numbers haven't matched the benefit of what you think.
Mayor, if I can also add.
So, but we're going to continuously, and that's something I've spoken to our administrator about for many years now.
7 years ago, I tried to do that at home. I
Yeah.
tried to work together with the township, and try to do the 2 towns, and unfortunately, it just fell through. But it is something that we're trying.
We also look
We're
for,
keeping it.
Well, I do
Yeah, we
with
did
my
look at
neighborhood, I mean, I do with my neighborhood just to get better deals, and we're able to do that with septic and with, with a
Right.
lot of different,
But once you take the free market component out of it,
Right.
you lose
Yeah,
that
of
ability
course.
to do
And
that.
that's done.
So there's pros and cons to doing everything. Right now, the waste hauling business is fairly competitive, which enables obviously for consumers to get a better price. If we bid it out, maybe we get a good deal, maybe we don't. But we're gonna be stuck with whatever we get conceivably at that point in time. So we're gonna keep talking about it. We have been talking about it. It's not something and we can talk offline about it because something that we kick around all the time. It's because the situation, the industry has gotten fuller over the years. There used to be less companies in that business. There are now quite a few more, and we absolutely recognize the point that you're making, that there are a lot of different companies with multiple trucks on on the same road. We definitely know what's going on, so.
we looked at, sorry to burn it, we did look at this 2 years ago. When Allen went out and bid, and they got a bid townwide, and they did not do as well as you're probably doing individually. We looked at the possibility of licensing fees, which we couldn't do because of the restriction on competition. And the third thing we couldn't do is we don't have the ability to, if a particular vendor, Joe's garbage hauling is picking up 5,000 in places and Sam's is only picking up 10, you can't break it down by the miles of roads and some of the other things. So it's somewhat of an unwieldy process in terms of how it does. I didn't like the Malcolm plan also because they bid it out and then they put it in their tax bill. So everybody was paying whether they were putting out, in some cases, there's some folks, especially seniors, are getting garbage picked up once a week as opposed to twice a week. So that made it a little more cost effective. So we've looked at it, we'll sort of look at it again. If somebody has something other than taxing by the mile, licensing fees, bidding out the thing in the aggregate, that we've looked at a couple of different times, I would certainly love to hear it because we're out of ideas.
Yeah, the other huge problem conceivably to either going to a municipally bid company or going in-house, like a lot of towns have their own. The money has to come from somewhere. It's going to come from us, it's going to come from the taxpayer, and it's going to really kill our budget. With the 2% cap, it's going to really, really hurt us. We're going to have our hands. That's really our biggest restriction to go into.
That's the big,
Excuse me, it will kill your budget, okay, but your budget is relatively modest compared to the overall property tax bill. that people are paying, principally because of the public school system.
Right.
And so it springs up another issue that I had, and I know I'm going to discuss this quickly from a macro level, and that is we see what the increase is to the municipal budget, and it certainly falls within the parameters, and that's wonderful. You guys are doing a great job in keeping costs under control. But the major component has to do with the schools. That is not being discussed at these meetings.
You can't.
And that's what I want to understand. Tell me why we can't have representatives from the school districts to discuss how they get to their budget number.
They have a budget meeting, just like we do.
Okay, why is that not even discussed in here?
Because we're a municipal government, they have a board of education, they're statutorily separate entities.
They're a separate taxing entity.
Okay,
Which
they're separate
statutorily, they impose a tax.
Right,
The regional district imposes a tax,
Right.
which you'll see on that, if you look at that brown, that two-page beige thing, you'll see that broken out for you,
Right.
those percentages. Then
right,
there's the local school board, which is also a taxing entity.
okay,
And then the county is also a taxing entity. So
okay,
your tax bill is kind of comprised of primarily 4 different components, and we're 12 cents of the dollar.
Right.
And you're right, we're the lowest portion of it. And you can go to the school board at the regional level or the local level, they have meetings not just similar to this, they talk about their budget, they explain why their budget is X, Y, and Z. But unfortunately, we can't tell them anything, just like quite frankly, wouldn't expect them to
I
tell
mean,
us.
we have liaisons, we liaise with them. So, I mean, I've been to their budget meetings as their liaison, so I understand where their substantial cost increases this year have to be security primarily.
right.
So, I mean, I could share that with you, but we're legally totally separate statutory creatures.
You've bifurcated process from municipality to the school districts, but as taxpayers, we're paying a tax bill. And so we don't think about that necessarily as taxpayers in a bifurcated fashion. We just know what our total tax bill is. And so I was just thinking, if there is, having come to any of these meetings before, if there was another way to incorporate the process, not the entire budget process, but a spokesperson from the respective taxing jurisdictions that we're paying tax on. Since we're paying that same bill over here, okay, why we can't hear from them to discuss how they concluded with their budgets in a summary format, to at least get us a little bit more aware of where our total tax bill is coming from.
Sure, be happy that we have liaisons to, obviously the Board of Ed and the regional, and they have extensive hearings, public hearings and budget hearings, and there's also a presentation on the school website on their whole budget, so I can get you some of those resources.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Jeff Sauter, 41 Ann Street, Holt's Neck. Just to follow up on the gentleman's comments on the road, repaving. I know this kind of subject came up when we had some grants that took care of, I guess, part of Laird Road, and you guys were discussing maybe trying to get more. But that is obviously a major problem in this town, and I think kicking the can down the road, or when prior committeemen kicked the can down the road, as well as maybe some people sitting up at that table there now could have been kicking that can down the road a little bit, but it is going to kill our budget, and probably very soon. So it's probably better to really start putting on it and do like this gentleman said, is you guys got to really put together a good capital project as it relates to these roads, because we're going to be driving pretty soon on stones in some areas of this town. So I just want to stress the importance of what that gentleman said. I think it's a really good idea. Thank you.
Judy? Sorry, I missed you.
I know that Judy Long for Greenhill Road. I know that a number of years ago, we did discuss at budget hearings the township bidding out the garbage. And what it basically did is it would be added into your tax bill, and that would put you well over the 2% cap. And so it could not feasibly be put into the budget. And I doubt that as long as we have a 2% cap, it's not going to go there.
Chuck, did you have something, sir?
Yeah, I had, well, first of all, to address this gentleman's question, in today's Asbury Park Press, in the legal section, since you're a lawyer, they have their budget, and the budget hearing is on May 6th.
Oh, good.
Thank you. And it's over there, what's the address? I don't know. Okay, I have several questions. First question is, in the Asbury Park Press, the summary of the budget, the synopsis, it says we have outstanding $15,010,246.64 budget debt. If you go back to the 2013 budget, we only had $8,860,435.73. That's an increase in 2 years of $6,149,811. A 69.3% increase in debt. Tell me why.
John's working on that as you're speaking.
Okay, let's go to another question while
Sure.
John's working on that. When Mr. Hennessy testified, he gave out a chart and he said, looks great. All income is great, it exceeds expenses, meaning he has excess, okay? And then you base some of your other decisions on that excess. But there's no absolute numbers. What are the actual numbers? How do you calculate it? What's the methodology in calculating excess? Does he include, I've heard, he doesn't include salary and wages. I never heard of such a thing. He doesn't include part-time people. I mean, and then we go and use some of that money when Mr. Frank was in, Mr. Fitzgerald questioned him, we took some money from Tom's budget to pay for the well over there. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It looks like it's all gimmicks, it looks like it's smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. Jim, you even said it at the last public hearing. Where's the
Wait, I want to see where, I'm sorry.
You show me
Sure.
the absolute expenses and the absolute income. Does he include all income? Does he include all expenses? Does he exclude anything?
In that chart that he prepared?
What?
In the chart he prepared?
Yeah, in the chart.
But that budget's not, our budget's not prepared based on his chart.
Right.
But you based other decisions.
What decision we based on
You
the
based
chart?
the decision on the well at Bucks Mill Park, and he said he had an
That's
exit.
true. We based the decision on the well because we needed the well, we had a
Yeah,
contaminated
but you needed the
well.
money, but you took the money, you said you would take the money
Well,
from his,
but
you're
that's-
not telling the truth there, Mr. Mack.
Wait, 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 wait.
You're not telling the truth. You know something? You're lying.
No,
Period.
Chuck,
Good.
Chuck.
Good.
What am I lying about, Chuck?
You're not telling the truth. You're
About what, Chuck?
You're covering up for him.
About what?
No.
About,
I got it.
does he have an excess or not? And how is the excess calculated?
Sure.
What excess are you talking about?
He
His
gave
chart?
out a chart, right here. He gave out a chart.
What does that have to do with the budget? We didn't prepare the budget based on his chart.
But he said I have an excess, and he said it was some odd thousands of dollars, I don't remember.
Okay.
And you said you were gonna take money from that excess to pay for other items in the budget.
You find on his recording, you find that.
Not me,
Let me know.
it's not me, I'm asking you, you're the public servant.
I didn't say that, Chuck, and neither did any of these guys.
Yes, you
We
did.
took $20,000 for a well because we had a contaminated well that
But I
needed to be
know that,
repaired.
I heard that testimony, but you said.
Now, why are you yelling, by the way?
Chuck,
No.
Chuck, can I?
Mr. Fitzgerald said we'll take some of the money from his budget to pay for the well.
And can you tell me what I'm lying about? What am I lying
You're
about?
telling the truth.
About what?
You're not telling, show me the absolute number.
What did I tell you the truth about?
You didn't.
About what?
You didn't tell the truth here on this chart.
That's not my chart, and I didn't do, none of this is based on that chart. None of it. So what's the lie?
Hey, Chuck,
Maybe you could articulate it better than I'm understanding it, because I don't understand what you're saying.
one of the parts of my temp job here that I've enjoyed over the years is discussing numbers with you. Before I was on the township committee, during this time, and I'm sure after the township committee. So I think out of all the citizens in this town, you probably followed the budget and our debt service more than most people have. One of the things that I want to make sure I'm not speaking out of turn, because you and I have had a number of discussions. Overall, there's a number that we come up with each year. How budgeting, we all do it personally and in business, is we're going to take that budget and we're going to prioritize. So the well thing was I'm sure there was a discussion during the budget hearing that we went, oh my gosh, we need to have this well, so I'm taking column here and putting in column there. The number, the overall number doesn't change. So one of the things that I really need to disagree with you about is, believe me, there are no smoke and mirrors. Every dime is accounted for here.
I know that, but
So
Mr. Hennessy
so that's
said you had
important.
an
Well, let's get, I don't want to talk about Mr. Hennessy. I want to talk about, we're talking about our overall $12 million budget that we run this township for. That we provide safety, and that we provide emergency services, along with the donations here, and that we're doing our best with keeping up with infrastructure. So this one little department that you're saying that there's a $20,000 that he brought in more than he put out on the programs that he runs.
I didn't
Well, that's
say
what it
anything
is.
about any number.
But that's
I
what it
don't
is.
know.
So
So
in a
you're saying
$12 million
you have an extra
budget, there's $20,000 that I think we're arguing about, which I'm not sure where
I'm
we're
just
doing.
trying to find out what is happening. You can't present an accurate budget, even a component of the budget.
I don't know, I have a lot of pages here. This is a pretty accurate budget, and you've seen it as well as I have over and over again.
No, but so even the budget, the newsletter, it just gives you a generalization. I'm asking a specific. I attended the budget hearing.
I know, and you have many years.
House for many, 40, 50, I don't know how many years.
And I'm also sure that we've availed ourselves, and will continue to, any questions you have, you and Mr. Antonides have a good
Well, it
relationship.
should be done at a public meeting. And if somebody makes a statement during a public budget hearing, the workshops, as Tom did, and the chart is misleading. Is he or isn't he have excess all those years? There's 5, 6 years here, 2000.
He's bringing in more money than it costs him to run the program.
Okay,
That's
does
what
he
that chart
include-
is, period. That there's nothing else that that chart
Okay,
says.
okay.
If you want
But
it,
does he include, do you know, does he include
I
salary?
already said no, and that, we'll answer that question for you, no.
Mayor.
He doesn't include.
Chuck, hey Chuck, let's take a huge step back. Are you listening to me?
Yeah, but I'm getting here to watch you up,
I just don't want to lose you, because part of the difficulty here is that there was no one that testified.
Okay, it wasn't testimony, but his presentation, we're going to argue about a word.
I didn't interrupt you, please don't interrupt me.
Okay, I won't agree with that.
What we do is, quite frankly, going back to the gentleman's comment, we run a significantly more transparent budget process than anybody that I know, quite frankly. The public sits in on the discussions by the department heads. They come and sit here. The public listens, as you know, as you've done for X number of years. You sit and listen to the department heads make their pitch for a budget. That's not testimony. That's what they'd like to have to spend in their department. And please don't interrupt me again. Let me finish. Because what Commissioner Hennessy said, because I want to, part of the reason you're tangling this with Committeeman Mack now is partially inaccurate, because I was the one that suggested the $20,000, and it was a question during a transparent budget hearing where I said, is it possible to take the $20,000 for the well, at Bucks Mill, out of the recreation budget if there's really a surplus there? And I was told that the reason really is no, because it's not an ongoing capital budget, an ongoing revenue budget. That has to come out of capital, because you amortize that well with the other things that you have as part of a capital budget. As part of our budget, we don't, quite frankly, listen to any budget, any department head's numbers, other than what Mr. Antonides gives us of what actually gets spent and what actually gets brought in. Hennessy Recreation, I hate to even use Hennessy, but the Recreation Department is one of the few departments in any municipality that produces any revenue. It's really that and your land use office and your building office and the court. Those are your three major areas. The court is probably the only real revenue positive. A positive I would call a black if you do a black versus red. My background's in economics, but if you know the true black one is probably really only the court. The revenue production that's talked about in the recreation budget is what's produced for those summer programs, for the cost associated with the summer programs. It has nothing to do with the salaries of the ongoing positions of other things during the year. So to answer your question, what you need to do is go look at budget sheet 15A and budget sheet 4 from our current funds, which you had the day you were here, and we went through those budget sheets, and those are the real numbers, because those are the real numbers from Mr. Antonides. And if you don't have those numbers, then they're certainly in the blue book. Okay. They've been incorporated in the blue book, and those are the real numbers, those are revenue numbers, those are the expense
My
numbers.
question is very specific. When he prepares his basic thing, he excludes his wages and salary.
That's not the purpose of
No,
money
that's
prepared, though.
And that's not what
He's trying to show you
Well,
that
he's
he's
showing-
turned around the programs and made them so they're not losing money.
Well, isn't that misleading? when you
Not to
go-
me, because I understand what the component is, and not to you, because you know what the component
Total
is.
cost, total revenue. If you don't have, you're not a.
In the program.
Here, you got a CPA. license.
In the program, in the program, right? If I'm running a Zumba class, and I'm charging $30 a head for the Zumba class, am I making money or am I losing money if I have 10 people in the class? Let's do simple economics, right? It costs me $200 to run the class, I have 10 people, I'm charging them $30 a head. How much money do I have after the class is done? I have $300, I have $100 surplus for the class. That's what he's showing us.
But you got to assign cost. No economic activity happens without a cost attached to it.
The overall budget does that, though.
Chuck,
That's what the budget
the
does.
point is that he's showing us that for the programs that he's running, he's not losing money. He's turning it around so he's making money. The salaries are fixed. They're in here. We know what the salaries are.
We don't have a single department head that comes here and talks about salaries that I can pick up.
We don't talk about it.
One question to clarify.
I gotta finish with Mr. Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the same.
Well, I love the gentleman talk.
No, it's just that, maybe I can clarify something, and I don't, it's not a new issue. I don't know Mr. Hennessy from anybody else in the township, but was this presentation on a
We have
particular
budget hearings, we have budget hearings here, all the department
So you
heads
have a
present.
budget hearing, and Mr. Hennessy is.
He's a department, all our department heads come in and tell us about what they're looking
And
for.
he's a department head.
He is.
For recreation. Okay, and he, by pontificating, we can use better words than that, about what his budget, he would like his budget to be, he makes a presentation. And in that presentation, he displays certain charts, et cetera, as I understand it. Was that just one of the charts that he displayed at that presentation? And is that what's causing the lack of a parallel environment, in that the presentation is meant to be a guesstimate or an estimate or an observation, whereas the budget process is very specific in nature? Am I missing that point?
We're not missing anything, you're not missing anything.
Oh, okay.
You'd have to have been here for 3 or 4.
Mr. Kennedy, you have that, Chuck, is it okay if I go back to the debt question?
Over 13.
This is out of the Asbury Park.
No, yeah, no, but what year did you compare it to, the prior year?
The prior year was 2013, 5 year.
Okay, what it is, at the end of 13, we went and we consolidated our outstanding bans, and they did a new issue that year, about $2.7 million for the, I think, basically for roads and other improvements. So that's not, that won't be in the old one, but that'll be in the new one, including the interest cost, et cetera, over the years.
So that accounts for a 69% increase in.
Yeah, because the 13 issue total was around $9 million, including interest. And to start, so you start paying it off over the years, you know, it's going down each year.
Another question besides, our township auditor is not here. It's the first time in many years, any years. Why isn't he here tonight?
Yeah, comment on
Okay. But John, since I have you here,
Sure.
How far can a town go out in bonds? 20 years, 30 years?
Well, it depends upon the useful life
It depends on the useful life of a road.
of the
That's
project. What you do is you weight it upon the useful life by the dollar amount. So, you know, depending on what you're doing, improvements to buildings, et cetera, purchase of farmland, we talked about that before, that would help stretch it out, et cetera.
Okay, thank you, John.
Sure.
Okay.
Wayne?
I'm going back to recreation. When Mr. Hennessy made his presentation at the budget hearing, first of all, he was over budget last year. Is that not correct, Mr. Bowden?
Transfer in, he was one of many,
Right. He was one of the many.
Go ahead.
All right. An operating budget, in my opinion, includes salary and wages. How could you operate the department without salary and wages being in consideration? According to the chart, he told us he made last year $250,000. Well, if you add his $200,000 in salary and wages and his $150,000, he's in the hole. And as I said once before, He does not share services. He bought turf mix last year or the year before, and he purchased the mix and he paid more for the delivery charge than using, and he sits on the Monmouth County Recreation Board. He could have used the shared services from the Recreation Department on buying materials for the fields, and he refused to do it. And I think that's unconscionable. And I think you should get a handle on it, and he should be more specific with what he's spending the money on, because we could have an awful lot of savings if this was done correctly. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yeah.
Yeah, just really quick going to that, because I'm hearing the discussion going back and forth on a couple of these topic matters, especially the gentleman on the end there. And you tell him to pay attention when sometimes you guys don't pay attention. You tell him to listen when sometimes you guys aren't listening. Even your town attorney didn't even hear a question. Okay? You tell him not to interrupt when you guys interrupt. Just be fair to the public out here and police yourselves too. If you tell us to act and behave in a certain way, you guys should too. I think that should only be fair. Thank you.
Comments on the budget hearing? We're in the middle of a budget comment hearing right now. Any comments on the 2015 municipal budget? You know what's probably interesting is that most of you know that this room was is a replica of the courthouse in Williamsburg, Virginia. So I don't have on the top of my head when that courthouse was built, but I would imagine even back then there were some similar good discussions that took place in government like we did just now. So I appreciate that and appreciate your participation. With that said, I'm going to close the public hearing. Resolution 2015-55, resolution authorizing adoption of 2015 municipal budget.
So moved.
Excellent. Comments? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Argo?
Yes.
Councilman Engel?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilman McNamara?
Yes.
Mayor Chapman?
Yes, excellent job by our administrator and our CFO in particular. Thank you for that. Item number 8, capital ordinance 2015-7. Sure. By all means, if we're now into the really exciting part, so if anybody needs to head out after their part, we're of course okay with that. Capital ordinance providing for various capital improvements and the purchase of various capital equipment and appropriating $304,975. Therefore authorized in and by the Township of Hope Snack in the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey. This is first reading by title. Any comments by the committee? Motion to approve, please. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Argo?
Yes.
Councilman Engel?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilman McNamara? Mayor Chapman?
Yes, I'm setting a public hearing for this, May 13, 2015. Item number 9, ordinance 2015-8, an ordinance entitled the 2015 salary ordinance for the Township of Cold Snack, first reading by title. Any comments from the committee? Motion, please.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Argo?
Yes.
Councilman Engel?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilman McNamara?
Yes.
Mayor Chapman?
Yes, setting public hearing, May 13, 2015. Item number 10, resolution 2015-56, resolution confirming appointment of interim township administrator, Mr. Thomas E. Entes. We have Tom with us tonight. Just to give you an update, and then I'll let Mr. Bowden have a few words. In anticipation of Mr. Bowden's retirement, there has been a great amount of activity in replacing that position. Committeeman McNow and myself are the subcommittee, if you will, that have reviewed many resumes and have done extensive interviewing. We brought a number of those candidates back for a second interview in front of the full township committee. Mr. Bowden's been an excellent part of that process. To date, that process continues. I, for one, and my fellow committeemen also agree, is that even though his departure is very soon, tomorrow actually, we surely are not going to rush to any candidate just because there's a date in front of us. So Mr. Bowden, continuing his excellent service, found a candidate for an interim position and I've had a chance to speak with Tom. I know his background. He is incredibly well respected in the area of business administration in the municipal arena, and we're lucky to have him. But with that, I'm going to have Mr. Bowden talk a little about that.
Stole my thunder a little bit.
A little bit.
I can attest to the town residents, Mr. Antis was over there, that you have a real pro that'll step in on an interim basis until the governing body settles in on a permanent basis. Tom, known for a long time, he served the community of the township of Freehold, quite a big operation for almost 20 years prior to his retirement. He had a long history of other endeavors prior to that. I think he was the assistant in Freehold Township, and I think actually started in recreation, ironically, based on a nice conversation. But I can tell you this, the town will be well served by Mr. Antis. He's a real pro. Glad to have him. Lulled him out of retirement. He's happily retired. We'll switch roles shortly. And he said to me, he said, look, I am retired. There's only a few communities that I'd even consider helping, Colts Neck being one of them. So glad to have you, Tom.
Yes. Francis, any words?
Honored to be here. Bob's exactly right. After a 39-year government in current government, different capacities, including 5 years running recreation programs, I retired. The phone rang just about a month ago, and it was Bob calling me at home, explaining the process and his retirement date. And I really enjoyed being a township administrator. I really enjoyed being retired. However, I have known Bob for 25 years. A, because it was Bob, and B, because it was Colts Neck. I said I would be happy to come and help the governing body, help the residents, do whatever I can. Truly, I can think of maybe 2 towns in the county I would consider leaving my really nice lifestyle for, and this is one of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 11, Resolution 2015-57, resolution confirming appointment to Farmland and Open Space Committee. Hey, there you go. Sorry about that. So, we got a motion, need a second? And I do need a roll call to make this official.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
Mayor Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Just one suggestion, Mr. Administrator, do we have to include in there the salary number?
I don't think so. It'd gladly give it, because he's not going to be employed. Mr. Antis is going to work a 4-day week, and he's going to be paid $2,000 a week on an interim basis, and that includes these meetings.
And I would amend
But he's going to be paid as a consultant.
Not as a, right, no benefits, no.
No benefits, no.
I would just be more comfortable with resolution, including the appropriation of the funds, so that we have that as part of the equation. So I would ask, under Robert's rules, I would ask that be amended, the resolution be amended to reflect that, so that we have a proper designation of the extension of those monies, regardless of what his characterization is.
No problem. So moved as amended.
Move this amended.
And second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
Mayor Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mayor McNamara?
Yes.
Mayor Schatz?
Yes. Now, item number 11, appointing Mr. Michael Stavala as on Farmland and Open Space Committee. There was a vacancy on that committee, and Michael was happy enough to step up to take care of that for us. Any comments from the committee? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
Mayor Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mayor McNamara?
Yes.
Mayor Schatz?
Yes, resolution 2015-58, resolution authorizing approval of an application for participation in the federal 1033 program, surplus federal property. Some of you may have followed this story in the Asbury Park Press. So this is a grant program, if you will, or exactly what it says, surplus federal property that becomes available to municipalities. And our governor just recently signed into law that if a township our municipality would like to continue to have access to this program, the governing body needs to go ahead and have a resolution. So there is another check and balance of what is being applied for and what we'll be receiving as a township. Our police department is the one who takes advantage of these for a number of items that may come up and fulfill our needs here. So that's what this resolution's background is. Any comments from the committee?
Mayor, could we just pass that along to the fire chief? One of the items that specifically provided for statutorily is thermal imaging devices. If we have that in our capital budget, maybe that's something to pick up for 1033.
Sure. Actually, our fire chief slash coordinator of Office of Emergency Management brought this to our attention.
Great. Ahead of us again.
There you go. He's doing a wonderful job. With that, need a motion? So moved. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
Councilman Engel?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilman Macnow?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. Item number 13, Resolution 2015-59, resolution confirming professional appointment of Mr. Wagner and his architectural firm for a feasibility study for our police/court building. So, those of you, including Chuck, I'm sure, remember that that original building was a state police barracks. The entrance of the police department on the pond side here is that part of the building was the original barracks. It's been added on to a number of years. It has some age to it. So we have decided as a township committee to look this year at maybe changing that up, utilizing the building to its full potential. We also have some cramped office spaces for some of our departments. So this is the first step of investigating that. It's in the amount of $7,500 to have this architectural firm to come in and give us this feasibility study. So I'm excited about this project. Any comments?
Just one question, Bob, could you just put a call out to them just to make sure that we have a cost not to exceed? The $7,500 quote does not include reimbursable expenses, printing, postage, billed at multiples of 1.15 the actual expenditure, although I would expect that to be, I don't want to come here and glossy stuff that's going to cost us $2,000. Just check off with them that if it's a couple $100, I'm fine, because it's $2,500 under the next closest bid, but let's make sure that doesn't, that's the number.
We'll do.
Next bid is $12,500, they're $7,500, but if they come back with $5,100 worth of
Yes.
expenses, that would be upside down.
Mr. Antis will follow up.
No doubt. When I say Bob,
Spoken like a retired guy.
Great. I need a motion if I haven't had one.
Only comment, Mr.
Yes, I'm
Mayor,
sorry.
that, this is, we talked a lot about infrastructure tonight. Hopefully none of you will get to see the inside of the police station, but it does need attention. And this is something that we need to stay on top of, and I'm glad we're making the move this year.
With that, would you like to move that?
So moved.
Craig, roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
Councilman Engel?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
I hate to admit, I hate doing this once a year, never mind twice the same night, but we have the resolution says a not to exceed of $7,500, and the contract talks about the attending costs of postage and the other things, so I would move to amend the resolution to include $7,500 plus the cost not to exceed, say, $500 at this point in time, and maybe we have to go back and visit it if it's outlandish.
So 8,000.
Move this amendment. 8,000.
Seconded as amended.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
Councilman Engel?
Yes.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilman Macnow?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes, item number 14, resolution 2015-60, resolution authorizing award of bid for our roll-off containers for our upcoming cleanup day. It was in the amount of $9,500 to Mazza and Sons. Cleanup day is May 30th in the morning.
7:30.
Many residents are taking advantage of that, which is wonderful. Comments from the committee?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
1563, confirming appointment of public agency affirmative action affirmation, there you go, affirmative action compliance officer, also Mr. Antis, and Mr. Antis for resolution 2015-64, confirming appointment of Mid-Jersey Joint Insurance Fund Commissioner. Comments from the committee?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo.
Yes.
Mayor Engel.
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor Macnow.
Yes.
Mayor Shutt.
Sir, Mr. Bowden, would you like to give us your administrative report?
Sure, nothing on the report itself, there was an attachment, and the governing body and maybe some residents may recall, probably a good 6 months ago, some Boy Scouts were here to observe the meeting, and we got into a discussion about cemeteries in town. And one thing has led to another, and it turns out there's a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to rehabilitating and going through the history of cemeteries. And there is a cemetery, turns out it's on town property. If you know the Chickalis property by the old lady next to our park on Laird Road, there is a cemetery there in the Paul Hamus family. Another well-known name, I believe, through Colts Next history. And my reason to put this on there is, one, they're willing to do the restoration at their expense, is what they do. They need some very token help from our public works to make sure they can get to the cemetery. And what they're looking for is simply a letter of approval that you welcome them to do this, and, which I think we can all agree with. More than happy with for people like this to preserve the history of the town. Some of these date back to the 1700s. So the only action I'm looking for is the authorization to send this out to a letter of approval.
I have motion maybe. Move that, by affirmation, I would move that, but we should also let obviously historic preservation know so that they might be involved, because obviously there might be some great finds out there that would be interested.
There are people in town that take these very cemeteries where Diane Piotrowski's son did a great book on this, and I think that's been shared with this organization by him. So there is a lot of interest in preserving these cemeteries for good reasons, so we'll include the appropriate people.
It's actually behind their baseball field in the break.
Yes.
I know we had pictures, I know our police chief was out there taking them, I know this organization has confirmed, they've worked with us to confirm this on town property. That's why you're involved. It's great, it's a good thing.
This is the one the chief found when we were looking for deer hunters.
I don't know if that was moved.
I moved it.
And, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, so carried. That's all I have, Mayor, thank you.
Township Committee reports. Michael?
Let's go to vouchers first, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, I'm just, why don't I mind tonight? Vouchers, so motion to approve the vouchers, so that's Michael anyway.
It's only 3.7 million, Mayor, don't worry about it.
Okay, there you go.
I did go through the vouchers, as is often the case, most of that is monies that we collect on behalf of other taxing entities, raising an interesting question during this discussion, since we do the collection for them and transmit to them. We're transmitting 1.28 million to the Colts Neck Board of Ed, almost 1.079 to the regional district. We're also paying for the public employees pension to the treasurer of the state of New Jersey, $231,000, and for the PFRS contribution is $410,000 and change. As you always hear me say, that's 2.9-ish million of the $3 million that we're spending. On that list, which was shared with everybody, I know we're attending to the Davis repair stuff. The Johnny on the spot is for the porta potties around the parks. And there's one addition to the, which was kind of a late added starter, was the a voucher for Atlantic Printing and Graphics, which is not on your list. That totals $624.95. I did approve that, and that is approval because of the timeless nature of it. It is to print up the Colts Neck Cleanup Day for May 30th. Obviously, we have to get that printed so we can distribute it in a timely fashion so folks have time to assemble their contribution to Cleanup Day.
Appreciate that. That newsletter was taken to the post office yesterday.
Yes. So that was normally, obviously, if I talked to the administrator and we worked it out on an emergent basis, I was comfortable with it, but I wanted all of you to know that although it's not on the list, the usual checks and balances were there. And with that, I would ask for approval.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wargo?
Yes.
There's no second, I think.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I saw Beth
Nagel, no,
Yes.
Dan Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Commissioner Mackin,
Yes, except to abstain for schools.
so noted, Mayor Katsas.
Yes. Township committee reports. Michael.
I know, I didn't have my invoice. I don't think I had a single one this month. Off, I mean,
Anything since the last meeting.
Hmm?
We really haven't had anything since the last meeting.
no, the planning board was canceled, initially approved, and, that's it.
Okay.
Russell?
The only thing that I'd like to let folks know about is that this cleanup day was almost the cleanup day that wasn't.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We haven't got shut down. So, we've been having some issues with the state, with the DEP, and the mayor and I have been working diligently for
Months.
no more than that now, because before the last time. It's been a year, over a year, trying to resolve the issues that the state has with our little half-a-day cleanup day. Why they spend so much time on us, I have no idea, but,
We're having a cleanup day.
This year's bottom line. Well, I'll comment.
Good. Jared.
The only thing I'd like to mention is almost, to touch on something we talked about during budget session. And that's this, right? So all the paper that we print. And I'm not gonna, I know you're leaving this transition, so I'm not gonna tax anybody. But at architectural last night, one of the members is using Dropbox. In the meantime, I'm looking at Google Docs and a few other things as a way for our committees to reduce the incredible amounts of paper that we produce and distribute on a weekly basis to all the meetings that we attend. So that's something that I'll be working on in the background. Maybe I can have some conversations with our acting township administrator.
Just an aside, on that committee thing, is that we can go forward and have all the technology that everybody wants here. Until there's some Wi-Fi accessibility in this building, we might as well have paperless.
Taken care of on Friday.
Yeah.
So we had it, it needed to be shut down, and we're getting it back on Friday.
Accessible to everybody?
Yes.
So you don't have to be an
I'll move in the right direction.
Correct. Because we're going to do a guest now. Yes. Deputy Mayor. I'm sorry, Jared, was that it?
No, that was it.
Nothing really. We do have maybe another new applicant for Fallen Preservation, so we're working on that now.
Excellent. Good. And I do not have a report this evening, so I will open it up to comments from the public.
I'll just remind,
Yes, okay.
Dr. Mack, I'll just remind everybody, EMS week is May 17th through 23rd.
Thank you. Michael.
Michael Viola, Prudential Place, Coltsneck. Two things, the last two seasons or more, I know the last two winter seasons were to extend the life and usage of the salt or snow. We included sand. In Clover Hill, we now have a lot of sand depositing in the low areas. I'd like to ask the township committee to consider utilizing street cleanup. The truck that's available, I think, it's cross-trained people who are qualified to drive it, that perhaps they clean some of those areas up in town. It's just going to make a smaller problem larger. It's just going to slow down the drains, clog the drains, and add more cost to the township down the road. Second thing, I would ask the township committee, Mr. Mayor, to ask the interim township committee, town administrator, to communicate with the recycling vendor to pay a little bit more attention to the quality of their work. I know it's a large quantity, they go through town very quickly, and often there's 10% of what they're trying to pick up in their week. So, thank you.
Sir?
Just a quick question about cleanup. I haven't participated in the process, so I don't know much about it except what I believe is the process, and that is you have to bring whatever you need to dump at to a certain location. Is that
For that day.
as for that day? As opposed or compared to having a truck come to one's house, that several townships offer that service. I guess they have their own garbage pickup service on their own. But wondered if it was ever considered to have a truck drive around the area to see if they can pick up certain things, especially for people that are older. Okay.
We do
have that?
on a case-by-case basis.
And how does that work, case by case?
If somebody has a hardship, they can go ahead and call the town hall here, speak to the administrator, and the administrator will make a decision whether we can do that or not. So what you will see is the week or so, or several weeks after cleanup day, you'll see a few houses that you may pass and say, oh, I wonder what that's out there for, and that's out there for us to pick it up, because there's a hardship there. Mostly are senior citizens.
How do you define hardship?
It's a case-by-case basis that we hire professional people to make. You've been doing that for 20-some years, so if you wanted to answer that for us.
It is somewhat subjective, to be honest, but we trust what people are telling us. We give the residents the benefit of the doubt. And the mayor said, keep in mind that there's an age 62 on that too in the bus.
Okay, but I'm 73, and to me it's a hardship to go down and.
Well, it doesn't, the hardship meaning, you've got to be physically unable to do it. Hardship doesn't mean I don't have a pickup truck or I just don't want to do it. It really means that you're physically incapacitated.
Why, has it ever been considered to pick up these type of things on that pickup day?
Yeah, I'll go through line by line with the budget. It's always a budget. It always comes back to money.
It's always what,
It
sorry?
comes back to money. So at this point, there's no way we can do that in our budget.
Mayor?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
We managed in the town that did it both ways. Went out to bid for bulk pickup and then used their own forces.
Okay.
The difference is the force in DPW was 30 men and about 40 vehicles. It simply is not cost effective. Okay, it is easier and I think more efficient to take it on a case-by-case basis. If there's a problem, and call me, okay? But in general, to ask everybody to fund the burden of much bigger DPW, we're going out to bid for something that not everybody uses, is simply not fair to all the residents of Colescott.
I agree with that statement. Why don't we just strike the demographics and say everybody over 65 will pick up garbage from those people because it's more difficult. They're
I
required.
resent that comment.
You should, because I share that.
Mr. Mayor,
I think
can I
that's-
add a little color here? A few years ago, when we had some really difficult times in Colescott with our budget, I brought up the possibility of canceling cleanup day because of the cost, to save money. And without realizing that there are several residents in this town, having gone to cleanup day for years, you see the line all the way down to 34th, that are waiting for this day to come, and are very involved and actively involved Colescott residents in this day. Because quite honestly, you can continue that drive down Route 34 and take it to the municipal dump and pay very little money to drop off whatever garbage you have. But we had an outpouring of residents come that year to trust. So the fight that Committeeman Matt now and the mayor have gone through to keep cleanup day, I don't want that to get lost here, because
So the politics of
I wouldn't call it the politics, I'm saying, I would call it answering the needs of the community.
That's the nice way to say politics.
We don't provide a lot of service.
I'm
We
sorry.
don't provide a lot of services for our town.
Right.
This happens to be one of them, and the people really like it. So we really,
It's a wonderful service.
we
Don't get me
did
wrong.
without exaggerating, I spent way too many hours fighting with the state to keep this because it's important to our residents. That's what they tell us. If it wasn't important to the residents, we got rid of it. But it's very important to them.
It is.
So we fought hard to keep it. And just another thing, I think Committeeman Engel pointed out, you go down to the recreation center, you can bring your stuff down there, but at least most of the waste haulers, you can pay them to do, to pick up large items as well. This is something that we offer free of charge to do. I mean, free of charge in the sense that you're not paying directly out of your pocket for it. And it's meant as an accommodation, and also to a certain extent, you don't want all those bulk items on the curb. You know, you can go down the streets, we have nice streets in town.
Oh, I agree with that.
So you go some of these towns that have these, and I'm sure Mr. Mantis could attest to this, you know, on one of these bulk pickup days or on whatever, the streets are littered with all this.
I agree.
And to add to that, we have had some issues where the services your private services don't pick them up on the day you call. So although your new couch gets delivered and you take your old couch and put it on the curb, it may not get picked up for a few days, if not a week. So, and then you have the rain, you mentioned, the drains getting clogged up, with pillows, so.
And we've been trying to avoid having that rather unsightly type of situation where,
That makes sense.
where there's just a bunch of big items sitting along the curbs in front of
Mayor,
you.
something that no one's considering, and I've seen this many, many, many years. When you do the bulk pickup at the curb, there is an incredible number of scavengers in
Yes.
the state. It is a very uncomfortable feeling
certainly
to have unmarked pickup trucks driving up and down your streets. Your kids are playing in the front lawn. I have lived this. It's not a good idea, really.
Why is it a state issue? Why does the state get involved?
DP,
Oh, so that's state, that's not federal?
state, although that's a good issue, I can talk about that some other time, but, no, the DEP became involved.
And why did they get involved with COSAC compared to Marlboro?
Because there was a complaint lodged about the way we're operating the cleanup day.
What was the problem? What was the complaint?
From my perspective, and my legal opinion, my legal impression, having practiced law for over 20 years, there was no problem. They wanted to make a problem out of
So what was
something
their allegation?
that it was impermissible under the regulations to have items touch the ground. That was the allegation.
You can put them in front of your house, but you can't put them on the.
That was the argument.
You can put it in front of the storm drain, but you can't have it touch ground.
So we're all on that,
Well,
so.
if you want to have a more detailed conversation, you
No,
have
I had it.
So I hope that adds color, because sometimes it's a lot bigger of a picture than what meets the eye.
I like your thought.
You know, without the side of politics.
You'd rather retain the day than lose the day,
Correct.
and that's what you're trying to earmark. And I agree with that, that makes a lot of sense.
Elaine?
Yes, I'd like to make one thing clear to this gentleman and the people in the room. When we fell on hard times, I went to our administrator, and Clean Communities pays for your cleanup day in full. And when we had this
It's
problem.
just another
it
tax
was-
from another bill. Go ahead,
No.
not from you,
It
not
was
from
a
one.
grant, it was a grant from
Which
the
is just
state of New Jersey.
another pocket, but yes, it does pay for it.
So let's make that clear, and when we had this problem last year, it was called Reclamation Center, that the DEP was charging us.
That's not correct.
That's not correct.
Well, that's what they told me.
Well, then you should actually come to us because we're
Well, I
the
work at the state, so I go to them first
Okay.
and get clarification.
Do you tell them that you're a representative of
So we have all
Colston?
our eyes- We have all of our I's and T's crossed on this,
Thank you.
and it is legal what we're going to do this year? Because if it isn't, Clean Communities is not going to pay for it.
Other comments? Jeff?
Jeff Sauter, 41 Ann Street again. First, Bob, congratulations again. That's quite an impressive accomplishment. Really quick on abstaining of the bills. I know, Russ, you abstained again on the Secudis bill.
I represent them.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly what I just wanted to know, because I know there's valid reasons for it. Jim, I know you abstained from ToCN. Can you explain to the public and us why, like Russ just did, why you abstained from those bills from time to
Same
time?
reason that any of us would abstain from anything if there's a financial arrangement with any of those vendors, so they're one of my clients.
Okay, all right. And I know, Tom, you abstained from some of the pine tree bills as it relates to snow plowing and stuff.
Yep.
On that, was there any type of a legal opinion that was done on that in terms of making sure that was all clean? Was that from John Bennett, who's also a relative of them? Okay, good. That's what I just wanted to know too. So you got another third-party legal opinion, which is the right thing to do. Okay, thank you.
Vince?
Yes, really, here, the, oh,
There you go.
Meeting over.
yes, it's, over the years, and I remember George Sanso as our administrator, there are a handful of people who sat at that table and who served the town in various capacities, who really have made memorable contributions to the town and have been more than you could have hoped for, really, when you just hire someone. And Bob Bowden is certainly in that class. He is a gentleman, he cares about this community. And that is something that money can't buy. And I have always valued him, always will.
Awesome.
With that, I'll just say thank you, Bob.
Other comments? Actually, I forgot, so I'll close public hearing. I did forget one thing in my report. It's one of my favorite things to do every year, and we had opening day baseball. A lot of us get to attend that. This year, Jared and I were there. We didn't bounce either pitch. We've done really good over these years. But just what a wonderful activity, just community-oriented and just so nice. So before I read this last resolution, if my fellow committeemen could stand up. And Bob, in 660 meetings, I'm not sure if anybody gave you the gavel to close the meeting. But I just have a feeling, probably by Robert's rules, I will hit the gavel after you, but I think I am going to read Resolution 2015-65, asking us to go into executive session, ask for any comments, motion to approve.
So moved. Roll call. Want me to do that?
Sure. You can do it all.
All in favor?